Challenging was it to adapt Frank Quitely's artwork for the animated series?
It was
for the movie.
It was really hard. It was the toughest adaptation job we've done. It's just to me a big part of the charm of the comic was the way it looked, and I just love his artwork. And we knew going in that it would be difficult because he has a really different kind of almost a European kind of style. It doesn't look like typical American superhero comics. So yeah, it was tough. It took quite a lot of R&D before we finally came up with a design that we thought reflected the comic and yet was still animatable.
Are either Grant Morrison or Frank Quitely going to be involved in it at all?
Only tangentially. Quitely is doing the artwork for the cover of the DVD, and Grant did the commentary for the DVD.
How hard was it to condense the 12 issues into a 70-minute movie? How did you decide what to cut?
Well, fortunately, I didn't have a whole lot to do with it, because the idea of doing All-Star Superman actually came up years and years ago, and at that time, as much as I loved the comic, and I really truly did love the comic, it's one of my favorite comics, I looked at the comic and I thought, wow, it's so episodic, I don't know how we're going to, it doesn't really have like a beginning, middle, and end, like, some other comics you could name. But so I really couldn't see how to do it. But then later, a couple years later, it came up again, and we thought, well, yeah, let's give it a try. Fortunately, we hired Dwayne McDuffie to write the script, and without any guidance from me or Alan Burnett, he kind of just on his own took a look at the comic and figured out what to cut, and he turned in his first outline and went, well, yeah, that feels right. And it's like, yeah, there were certain episodes from the comic that I would have loved to have seen animated, but they didn't fit into the overall arc that Dwayne had picked out of the comic. So yeah, some of my favorite things in the comic aren't in the movie, but if you didn't know they were there, you won't miss them. I mean, you watch the movie and you feel like, yeah, it's all there that you need to have. So.
So I'm curious. You're sort of like the architect of the DC animated universe. I mean, you sort of kind of started it all with Batman animated series. What are your day-to-day duties like now on these animated films? Like, you take us through a day in the life of Bruce Timm.
It's I get to spend like a half hour on each of the projects at a time. It's a difficult juggling act. I kind of oversee the direct-to-video still. Sometimes I'm more involved than other times, just because either because of how many things I have on my schedule, or how who else is in charge of or who else is involved in the DTVs. And then I've also got this other project that we're not allowed to talk to that's taking up a lot of my time right now. So it's difficult. I'm not as directly involved with any of the projects as I would like to be. Like when I was working on Justice League, that was my only job, so I was like focused on that 100%, 24/7, and it's not like that. But at the same time, I'm working with some really super talented individuals like Lauren Montgomery and Sam Liu, who don't need a whole lot of direction from me, so I can pretty much just kind of like let them go and do their thing, and occasionally they'll run stuff by me and I'll say, oh yeah, it looks great, and occasionally I'll change a little tiny thing here and there, but for the most part, it's like, they're awesome, so, it's like I said, it's not really that they need much direction from me, but I kind of like to keep my hand in anyways, and so, that's the way it is.
Cool.
Do you think you would go back and actually direct one of the movies, or want to take a more limited role and go produce a TV series again?
I would love to. I would literally have to walk away from some of the other things I'm working on. And the combination of the fact that I don't want to, and also the office doesn't want me to. They like to keep me involved in all these different things. So, but yeah, I would love to be literally just focused on one thing. That'll happen again sometime. Not in the immediate future.
what's your rate of involvement on All-Star Superman compared to other DC animated films so far?
Hard to say. I've involved always at the beginning with the director and producer in terms of discussing what the visual style is going to be, and in casting, and I'm always there at the voice recordings, and I'm always there at the tail end when we do the edit and the post-production. A lot of the steps in between, approving all the individual models and approving all the individual storyboards, I usually leave that up to the director. So in a way, I kind of have it great because I don't have to like do all the day-to-day stuff. But and like I said, they don't really need me to do that. So on one hand, I really can't complain because I get to do a lot of the fun stuff. I get to work, in the editing room with the director and the editor, which is one of my favorite parts of the process, and working on, like I said, the whole post-production end of it. So it's. So your question about All-Star Superman.
Compared to other stuff.
Yeah, it's about the same as it has been since the beginning, really. I mean, except for Doomsday, which I was really, that was the first one, and I had a smaller crew, so I had to do a lot more on that one. But it's been about the same. It's stayed about steady.
I was reading somewhere. It's like, what does Wonder Woman do?
Obviously, you're asking questions.
Okay.
I noticed since the films have gone to the PG-13 rating that the violence level has increased dramatically, and I know these films are geared more for the fans than the family element. I was wondering if you've gotten any backlash from anybody besides the hardcore fans.
If we have, I haven't heard about it. We don't. Like I said, if we get complaints from some mom who bought one of the DVDs thought it was kid appropriate,
right.
But I haven't heard anything, so I think everything's cool in that respect.
Now, a lot of these films have been PG-13. Has there ever been a thought about, not going too deep, just to go, that dark? But has there ever been thought of, an R-rated animated? Has there?
It's come up several times. There was one property in particular that we actually came this close. And at the last minute, we got cold feet, or somebody got cold feet and said, "No, we're not sure the world's ready for an R-rated superhero film yet." So, but it keeps coming up as a possibility. So, who knows? One of these days.
What about the other direction? Would you think about doing something PG or even G-rated?
That's an interesting question.
Mostly I'm asking
well, we
because
wouldn't. I don't think we. Well, currently, right now, we're not slanting anything that way. If we happen to do one of these things that, for some reason or other, didn't get a PG-13 rating, I think we'd be fine with that. But actually, a G rating, that's a little tougher. That would be something I wouldn't really be interested in, because I'm not even sure. I wouldn't even know how to do that. So.
mostly I'm asking because we'd love to see Shazam and the Monster Society of Evil, which is not. I mean, it's
that's not a PG-13 property.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. As much as I would love to see that too, I'm not sure there's a big enough potential audience that could support us doing something like that. I wish there were. I wish there were a market for things of that nature, but that could change. You never know. It could happen, I suppose.
Have you ever thought about revisiting the Teen Titans Judas contract again?
Well, you're only the third person today who's asked me that question.
It's a great story, sorry.
Well, here's what I think about Judas contract. I know a lot of people weren't crazy about it, but I thought they did a really, really good job of adapting that for the Teen Titans TV series. I thought they did actually an excellent job of adapting it. So I kind of feel like it's something that's already been done. B, we literally did market testing on it, and the home video people decided that they did not feel confident enough that it was a big enough moneymaker for them to actually greenlight. So that's literally the bottom line. So that kind of killed it dead.